And welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. We're glad you're with us. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And we got somebody on today that's very topical.
I should say, Joe Castiglione, the athletic director of the University of Oklahoma, is coming back for another visit with us. We've entitled this show, What's Up at OU? We're going to find out what's going on. There are always a lot of things going on in the athletic area down there as well as the academic area. And Joe's a great guy to come visit with us and give us his time.
In the middle of the academic year, so a lot going on at the University of Oklahoma's athletic department. And Joe Castiglione will fill us in today on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
It's time, America. Our energy future can be ours again with American natural gas. We have an abundant, affordable supply, unrivaled anywhere. $1 billion a day for importing foreign oil isn't just a statistic, it's an opportunity. 30% lower greenhouse emissions isn't a pipe dream, it's a choice. Now is the time. Chesapeake, America's champion of natural gas.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Today we welcome back for the 13th time, believe it or not, Athletic Director Joe Castiglione from the University of Oklahoma. Joe assumed his position at OU in 1998 in the summer. He is the 11th person to hold that position at the University of Oklahoma. Joe's a Maryland graduate, was an AD at Rice, an AD at Missouri, before coming to the University of Oklahoma. He's won many awards, national and local. He has most recently been named to the men's NCAA basketball tournament committee. And as I understand it, they've already started their work. He has his teams under his supervision, or the teams under his supervision, have won seven national championships and 40 conference championships. Joe, welcome back for your 13th appearance.
Well, thank you, Kit. Mick, I hope this is the lucky 13th show.
We're counting on it.
Okay.
Finished up college football just a few weeks back. Any changes on the BCS horizon? Seems like we have this conversation annually, but anything new on that regard?
We do have it annually, and it heats up probably once every 4 years as we're entering into the next 4-year cycle of the BCS. It seems to run in that type of format. And so now they're talking once again about the modifications they can make to the BCS formula, perhaps even expand it by at least one game. You've heard it referred to previously as the +1 format, but in essence, it's a playoff because it'll involve more than the two teams that we've tried to get to the national championship game in the previous years. So 4.
Does that mean you would try to seed 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3 on the first round?
Most likely.
Okay.
And
because that would be a playoff if you do it that way.
That's right.
That would
It's a playoff.
That would be a playoff.
It's a playoff. I want to say right now, it's not going to solve every one of the issues that everybody thinks it will.
No, just create new issues. But
the teams that are at 5 and 6 are going to be crying just as much as those teams that are at 3 and 4 position in the previous years. But at least it's a step in that direction. I want to say that hasn't happened yet. That's just the dialogue. At least it seems to be that people are talking about it more openly than they have before. We talked about it a lot about 6-7 years ago, and it was prior to the time that Fox got the BCS. And there was a lot of talk at that point about a +1 game. But we'll see.
Well, in order for that to happen, that would require the agreement of the conferences that are members of the BCS. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. And there may be a different way to get at the selection of those 4 teams.
Well, has conference realignment that's recently occurred, will that impact whether or not BCS's format has changed?
I can't see how it won't. I think that may be part of the genesis of the conversation heating up again, although in all fairness to all of the parties, it's a topic that received a great deal of discussion previously. The presidents have not been interested in anything that looks like an NFL-style playoff, and have been very adamant about that for as long as I can remember. In fact, I've said overall it's unlikely that we'll see a true playoff in the foreseeable future, meaning maybe 10 to 12 years at least. But this might be that step in the direction. And perhaps there's good arguments for it. The teams are more closely matched than ever before. In other words, there are more good teams. If not for, maybe one, last-second loss, there's arguments for 3 or 4 or 5 teams each year that could qualify to be in that national championship game. Remember, when this whole BCS idea started, it was really just a process to get the top 2 teams to play each other in the postseason, because the media had been crying for years, you can't find a way to get this done because maybe the best team in one conference was in one bowl and the best team in another conference was in another bowl. They couldn't get them together to play either in a bowl game or after the bowl games, and so the BCS formula was born, and it was the best sort of system that we could come up with at its time, even with its flaws. And since then, it's been tweaked, adjusted, improved to some degree. There is one element, and we'll probably go to the next topic here, but there's one element that has to be embraced in whatever change or whatever process we have going forward, and that is how it builds interest in the regular season. If there's any kind of format chosen that creates risk that somewhere during the regular season people would lose interest because teams fall out of favor or whatever, more so than they would naturally, we've got major issues on our hands, because college football is the economic engine for the rest of the athletic programs, at least for those schools that have college football programs. And the regular season has never been better. Each and every year, we can go back probably 6 shows ago, and I could say this, where the attendance at college football continues to go up and up and up. Each year we're setting attendance records. So I don't know if we've hit our zenith yet, but it's been a very steady climb, and that has to be protected.
Would there be any opportunity for a home game in this postseason, the and one, or do you think the bowl series and the bowl system would still maintain its role? Personally,
I think that should be talked about seriously because of the pressure it's going to put on fans to travel. I mean, you expect fans are going to just travel every game you put out there. They're not doing that anymore. We have a game that's made so much for TV. People are embracing the fact that they can see more of the game on a bigger picture right in their home or somewhere else where they want to watch it. And we got to be careful, how much pressure and stress we put on fans. The cost of travel, the cost of the tickets, et cetera. It's not an easy thing. And plus the date selection. We've taken these games and moved beyond New Year's Day, which is, we're all traditionalists to an extent, but you take that date and move it to the 4th, the 5th, the 9th of January. Well, if it's not the national championship game, there are people that step back and say, well, kids are back in school, it's out of the holiday period, I'm not off as many days, it's more expensive to travel. There are factors that we've put in front of them that make them reconsider whether they're going to follow teams. And so we got to think about all that, and that's why I think perhaps playing one of those games on a campus of a team that's earned that right might be a good thing.
Let's change the subject. Last time you were on, we spent some good bit of time talking about the Texas Longhorn Sports Network. Let's talk about OU's sports network that's on the drawing boards or in the mind's eye or in reality. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I can tell you we've made some significant progress with evaluation of proposals that were put in front of us over the last several months. I'm not at liberty to talk about the the actual place where we are in that process, but it's been exciting, it's very encouraging, and we believe we found a way to develop a model we think is sustainable for the University of Oklahoma. And that is a strategy, if you will, to deliver more of our events to our fans, not just across the state of Oklahoma, but beyond, in our region as well as across the country. And even with online, being able to deliver that around the world, because we have many, many fans. In fact, we hear it the most from our men and women serving in the military, where they are all over the world, who can follow something going on related to the Sooners, and it's a way for them to keep in touch with home. And it's a way to bring a lot of them together on a base. They constantly write us about it. They're constantly talking about it, how much it means to them to be able to see live events, to be able to see those events if they couldn't see it live, archived somewhere online, that they can go back and see it when they're near a computer or at a place where they can spend time watching. And so this whole strategy has been to push more of that out to our fan base around the world, and it's a sustainable model. That's the word I've used from day one, and it works for us. And keep in mind, we're talking about developing this branded presence in the marketplace with content that is still left for us to use. It's not live football, it's not the premium basketball games for men and women, or even some of the premium baseball or softball games, because those events have been conveyed to the conference and part of the conference package. So we're taking, what hasn't really traditionally been on air and creating this network and packaging it with coaches' shows, and we're packaging it with programming that we're now producing on campus, like the documentary of the history of Oklahoma football, which we've released the first 2 parts of a 4-part series.
And this is all happening at the same time that more people are viewing media on smartphones and notebooks. And so you've got a lot of new inventory potentially, and a lot of new ways to tap into that source. And of course, this next generation is going to be more into that than ever. And so just the way people view and consume information is changing so rapidly.
We know that our Sooners are on the go, so we want to make sure that we can push the content to places wherever they are, and they could keep up with what's going on. And then we're going to be properly positioned to take advantage of whatever emerging technology comes our way in the next several years.
Joe Castiglione is our guest. We're discussing the University of Oklahoma and its athletic programs with the athletic director. We'll be right back.
The thing that has made the most sense for me is realizing that I am still an educator, and that is what I do at the Chickasaw Nation. I'm Dr. Amanda Cobb-Greetham. I'm a historian, and I'm Chickasaw. The Chickasaw Cultural Center is amazing. It is a very, very special place devoted to the sharing and to the celebration of Chickasaw history and culture. State-of-the-art technology, exhibits that are not like anything I've ever seen. The Spirit Forest is incredible, and you feel as if you have actually just walked into a forest with huge trees all around you. It's timeless, and yet it's sort of also representative of our time depth, to really just sort of reach through time and touch the past. By the end of the exhibits, you really have a sense of Chickasaw cultural and political resurgence, and the extent to which we are a healthy, dynamic, and vital tribe today. Chickasaws have always been an inclusive people. This is something for the whole community and for the state of Oklahoma.
In 25 years, world energy demand will grow by 44%, with oil and natural gas largely meeting the need.
The question is, will America's demand be met by American resources?
Oklahoma says yes. We're developing the largest oil and natural gas discoveries America has seen in 40 years.
It's creating jobs and millions in tax revenue for schools, roads, and hospitals.
Oklahoma's oil and natural gas industry, advancing our state, empowering our nation.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers and our guest, Joe Castiglione. Joe, new coaches, new facilities, those are all the things that come across the athletic director's desk. Anything new on your desk in those areas?
Well, it's part of our value system at the University of Oklahoma. It's a commitment to continuous improvement. And an athletic director's job is always to either hire the best coaches or retain, the best coaches. And we have great coaches and people come after them all the time. We've had a little bit of change, had a retirement of a longtime coach and Jack Spates, and we have a new head wrestling coach, Mark Cody, who was the National Wrestling Coach of the Year last year at American U, joined us in the summer. And actually the wrestling team is competing as we speak. Have obviously our new basketball coach, Lon Kruger, has his team underway and just, I guess, 3-4 games into the conference season now.
He was a guest on the show recently.
Oh, great. Not surprised. He's been so aggressive at getting out into the community and trying to connect with people, and likewise, they're connecting back. So we see a lot of interest that has been growing since the start of basketball, and I think great things are on the horizon for him. A super coach, obviously, history of success everywhere he's been. Turned around 5 programs. And this is going to be his best one yet. Feeling really good about welcoming him and his wife Barb to our community. And then just here in the last couple of weeks, hired a new head coach for a women's soccer program who's done a great job as a head coach at Washington State. But we have and I always say this, I'm so lucky as an athletic director to be able to work with such quality coaches. And we're coming off a year where the cumulative success of our program through the past academic year put us in the top 10 of all programs in America. And that's the first time Oklahoma's ever been in that ranking. And so we've got great coaches like Patty Gasso, who had her team in the College World Series last year, or Sonny, or Martin Smith, and KJ Kindler, or Mark Williams. Both were in the top 2 or 3 in the country every year. So, and that's not leaving anybody out. Our new golf coaches and tennis coaches all have their program going up, as well as Santiago and volleyball, again in the NCAA tournament. So you just go on and on through our whole program, and it's trying to recruit the best and the brightest and put them in a position to be successful.
Do you see any new facilities on the horizon that aren't under construction now?
Well, our big one has captured all of our attention, as it should, and that's the new residence hall, actually called Headington Hall, after one of our donors, Tim Headington, who made the lead gift for that project. Not often do you hear about an athletic department raising money and building a residence facility. Maybe back in the day you might have, but the so-called athletic dormitories don't exist anymore. But once upon a time, we were in the athletic dormitory business, and the Wilkinson Hall and Jones and Jeff House and the dining facility all were athletic, and still are athletic facilities. And they just have gone way beyond their life expectancy, and we needed to come up with a plan to build a new one. And so this new facility, which is located on the corner of Lindsay and Jenkins, diagonal from the football stadium, is a game changer for us. First time we'll be able to get our first year student athletes all under one roof. We've not ever been able to do that before. But it's not an athletic dorm per se, because 51% of the residents in that facility, students who are not participating in intercollegiate athletics. In fact, that's a mandate by the NCAA to make the facility compliant, so it doesn't evolve to an athletic dorm, but it'll be state-of-the-art dining, study areas, all the amenities for students, and of course, so beautifully located, for everybody to get to class, and parking and all that's great. So that's the big project, and it truly is. I use the phrase game changer because there isn't anything like it on a college campus. But we'll have other facility projects. We're already doing improvements in baseball and softball right now. As we raise money, we immediately reinvest it back into those facilities. And somewhere down the road, there's going to be a need to address a basketball facility. And of course, you know better than anybody, Mick, you know, what that's done, you know, for our whole area, you know, the Chesapeake Centers and of course the acquisition of the team. But all of that has, you know, created an economic impact that doesn't get talked about enough. And our facilities on campus actually do that for us too. We are aggressively in the marketplace of going after high school championships, which obviously serve the state of Oklahoma, but we have conference title championships and NCAA championships that we're hosting on our campus, and we're more hotels going up in our area, and we bring more people to the area, so it creates good economic impact on top of what football games do, which most people say is a $8 million impact to the Norman, Cleveland County area. Each and every Saturday we have the Sooners playing.
Across the country, states are in financial distress. Local governments are in many cases in financial distress. How about university athletic departments in general? Not just yours, but across the country. How are they doing?
All feeling the same kind of pressure, because it starts right in the place where you said, you know, from the state all the way through the campus to the athletic programs. Fortunately, and we've talked about this many times, you know, we're a program here at the University of Oklahoma that is totally self-sustaining, meaning that we don't depend on any tax revenue, we don't depend on any institutional support, nor do we have student fees going to support intercollegiate athletics. Every dime that we need to fund our program, we have to generate in some way, shape, or form, whether it's ticket sales to annual giving, corporate partnerships, whatever. And you know, on top of that, you know, we're able to support the rest of the campus. So we're paying full cost of everything. On top of that, we're funding almost $7 million annually back to the campus that goes to the academic budget and can be distributed as, you know, President Bourne sees fit in the budgeting process. So we have been fortunate, but we're one of only 5 or 6 programs left in America that can say that. You know, that's out of Division I level, it's 333 programs. Division 1A, if you would sort of bifurcate, you know, the universities that have football programs that are fully scholarship, that's about 120. So if you look at, you know, and obviously Division 2 and 3, very few of those programs, you know, would have anything close to self-sustaining. So talking about a handful, 5 or 6, and that's something of which we're very proud and what we can do to help during these very tough economic times. So when we talk about these things that have not been part of the general discussion, you know, people saying, wow, college athletics has become quite a business. Well, yes, because we're trying to take care of the demands of funding our program. So we have an entrepreneurial spirit, but we don't do it totally void of how it relates to the academic mission. We're trying to, you know, really just carry that forward.
As the cost of education goes up, the cost of running an athletic department dealing with athletes or student athletes goes up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think a lot of people miss that connection.
We have just about 45 seconds. You mentioned the academic area. Tell us how our athletes are doing.
Better. And we've had programs in place. People don't realize, you know, our academic policies are tougher. Attendance policy. We're only 4 or 5 programs in the country that have an attendance policy, and we mean it. You know, it's a tracking process to make sure that people understand, and they come to campus, they have to change, you know, the way of managing their time. Our degree completion program, which is going back out and getting those student athletes who have finished their eligibility to come back and finish their degree. And and people in the NFL, we have several of the NFL players that came back and are coming back each year, and it was fun. Every time you get to May, you see, you know, an NFL player walk across the stage, you know, and get their diploma. That's really great, and they've actually fulfilled the promise they made to us when they left, that they're going to complete their degree. And so we're on them all the time to do that. So we're making good progress there.
All right. That's it for the show. Joe, thanks very much for coming in.
That was fast. I hope that lucky 13 was good.
That's right. Fastest 30 minutes in television. Joe Castiglione, our guest today on The Verdict. Kent and I'll be back with a final word after this.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. a place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
In Oklahoma, we enjoy a high quality of life due to good, well-paying jobs. Commercial real estate professionals play a significant role in bringing new businesses and investment to Oklahoma. The commercial real estate community has come together to market Oklahoma's commercial properties nationwide through a free public website, okcommercialproperty.com. We are invested in keeping Oklahoma strong and growing because economic development ensures quality of life.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. We're wrapping up a show with the University of Oklahoma's athletic director, Joe Castiglione.
Joe's always good to give us his time. He comes about periodically a couple of times a year, and we're delighted to see him. They're doing a grand job down there.
Well, the university's in good hands with athletics, no question about that. We have some website information that'll allow you to connect with what goes on in the OU athletic department. It is www.soonersports.com, soonersports.com. And of course, we've got a website, theverdict.tv. Love for you to go to that site and tell us about a guest you'd like to see on an upcoming show. For Kent, I'm Mick. We'll see you next week right here on The Verdict.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.